This is Ron Brown again. It's Friday afternoon, January 10th. If you look down here in the right corner, you can see the market's going to be open in about another 33 minutes. I'm going to cover a few stock scans in this video. I didn't want to make the market video any longer, so let's take it from here. Now, I left the market video in my broad market indices folder. Now, if I want to continue that top-down process, I can just go to all securities, or I can go to all stocks that have at least a 50% institutional sponsorship, or any of these, and go top down. I'll just go ahead and go to the all securities. You can see there's a lot of stocks in here. This is as of 45 minutes ago. The advancers and decliners are running about even at 102. I'm going to change to that index group, and then I'm going to bring up my quick pick, and I'm going to get out of the market analysis, and I'm going to get into the end of day and intraday stock scans. Now, obviously, I cannot cover all of these, and I've been working trying to do a short video about many of these scans. I've changed some since I began that, but eventually I'll get that done. Maybe now that I've got everything the way I want it. I want to concentrate on a few scans for this video. Now, what I like to look for are stocks that have gone through the expansion phase. If you can't catch them, you want to catch the next expansion phase. This is impulse, reaction, and then it starts to go, and then there's more reaction, and then here's the impulse. You want to try to catch them as they're going up into the impulse stage. Now, I'm in this stock. It's done absolutely nothing since I bought it. I'm up a few bucks on it, but I bought it here. I thought it was coming out of the consolidation or the reaction stage, and it did, but then there was one lower low compared to this. If you have a couple of lower lows, then you start getting worried. But I wasn't worried about it. You know, volume was heavy that day, but then it fell off yesterday. And now it's going up, but so is the stock, and there's an effort to rise. So we'll see what happens with it. Let me get this out of the way, and let's do a little more analysis here. But let's go back to the weekly chart. Look how strong this is. Now, what's the structure of this stock? By structure, I mean range. Direction means higher highs and higher lows. Generally, this stock on the weekly, in these areas in particular, closed near the upper part of the daily range. Okay, now, talking about the higher highs and higher lows are the pullbacks. Here, this would be the first lower low compared to this low. And then this would be lower than the prior low, and this is on the weekly chart. Let me move in here a little bit. So, nothing to panic about. If I'd have been really watching this stock, this is where you want to buy when it takes out this high on the weekly chart. And look at the demand here. You can see the demand. There's always profit taking along the way. Then it gets up here, gets overextended. But there was really no lower low. This low is not lower than this low, and then it started taking off again. And this is where where I currently am, sitting with a very small profit. Now going back over here to the monthly chart, here's a higher low. Break past that, and it looks good on the monthly chart. I'm not going to break this one out as much as I did the weekly chart. But if this stock, which is in the shipping group, and I'm going to go to the group line, you can see the group line is turned up today. This group line is recalculated when I calculated the groups, and I can see it's going up. And what you can do, and this is a nice feature, change to the industry group, and then You just click on the warehouse and it will take you to marine shipping down here. Let me get this out of the way. And CMRE, but I need to go to my scorecard intraday, is number 2 in this list. Navigator Holdings is number 1. Even though the group turned up, it doesn't look very good right now, but the market's selling off, and I haven't updated. But it's holding in there. And let's look for strength. Just quickly, you can use the ranking module here too. Long-term relative strength based upon Wilder. You can see customer is on top. I've been in LPG also. Not currently in there. Let's see what it's doing today. Okay, see it gapped up. It looked like it was going to go. Sold off the same day. Costamar sold off. Test yesterday. Low pivot. Hasn't taken out yesterday's high yet. So it's really not, whoops, hit the wrong button. I went too far is what I did. Sorry about that. So, but these two stocks are the best of the bunch based upon the long-term relative strength. Let's take a quick look at comparative to the SPX over the past 2 weeks. GLNG has outperformed, and by how much? You go to raw relative strength. It's outperformed by 4.2% compared to the S&P. Quick look at the chart. Well, it's been moving up, but it's a little bit choppy. I don't like the looks of that chart compared to this chart. Okay, but the ranking module is a wonderful tool to compare the stocks in a group, and then you can make your decision on that based upon that. And then once you're in the group, you can go to some other scans here. Now, I've talked a lot about low pivots in my recent seminars. Let's look for unconfirmed low pivots intraday. And you can see that Navigator Holdings is the only green one. And let me bring that up. Here was the low pivot compared to the prior day. It doesn't look like it, but this low has to be lower than the prior day's low. Move in a little bit here. If I click on this, what's the low? 1307. What's the prior day's low? 1308. So it's lower. This is how what my filter is based upon. So I would consider that a lower pivot, and a buy. Taking an early buy would be taking out this high. So-called confirmed buy would be taking out the high of the prior day. So this stock Navigator is currently on a buy based upon the intraday low pivots. Unconfirmed. It's confirmed now. For last night's data, it was unconfirmed. If I go back up here, let's look at this. See, this information is very handy. Yesterday, the volume was light as buyers were holding it up. There was an agreement between bulls and bears. That's why you get a doji or doji star. And volumes of only 130,000 shares. But today, it's up $3.48. I'm sorry, it's up 3.48%. And volume is running above the 90-day moving average. I really like this ability to compare yesterday's data to today's data. And I hope you do too. These are all in my files. You have to be a member of the Insider Club to get them. I've worked very hard on these, so I figure you have to join if you want these files. Okay, so that's unconfirmed. If you want only stocks with a fan up, these are the stocks that have a low pivot with a fan up, and there's that LPG I was telling you about. What do I mean by the fan up? Most of you know what the fan is, but I'm going to clear this out, and I'm going to go down to a fan chart here. And this is a fan. 200 is at the bottom, then the 100, then the 50, and then the 18. And an ideal fan is like this, where the distance between the moving averages is relatively similar. Now this is where the fan began down here. Let's see if this is unconfirmed. This next chart, which is one chart down, is a VFB chart, which means that when you go to a warehouse and click on a stock where the occurrences appear, in other words, a low pivot with a fan up, it generates a green line automatically. Beautiful, huh? So here's a low pivot. Confirmed, it went up. Here's a low pivot. If you'd have taken the high there, you'd have gotten in. Not a good call there, but here's a good low pivot. Here's another good low pivot. Here's a low pivot here. It hasn't executed yet. This chart can be very handy if you want to find stocks that are in the fan formation and are generating a signal. I'm going to move back to my list. I'm not going to spend any more time on pivots because I've covered them in my webinars, but I'll be getting back to them. A couple things I want to show you. I want to go up to VPOC. Now this is related to the low pivots. The VPOC is a volume point of control. If you've read Anna Calling or Wyckoff, especially Anna Calling, she is big into volume point of control. This screen right here is a bullish 10 period volume point of control. In other words, the volume point of control, and I'll just use this chart for a minute, has gone negative, and I'm looking for a positive. Let me go to the VPOC charts. It's much easier to find. Let me do it over here. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the warehouse. Late in the day. Try that again. Okay, I'm going to clear this, and I'm going to go down to the volume point of control charts. You can see there are 4 of them here, and I'm going to use the number 1 chart. What this number 1 chart does is it shows me the volume points of control for the 10 bucket, 10 period, and that has gone negative. That's what this does. It's looking for stocks that have pulled back and gone negative, and it's waiting for a positive signal to the upside. This is the 10, this is the 30-day, this is the 90-day. It's below the 10 period volume point of control. It's below the 30 or 90 volume point of control, and it's above the 20-day. What volume point of control means, it's where the volume has been the most active for a security. So if I go down to the next one, I'm sorry, once again I got it. I'm going to close this just so I don't get confused. I'm going to go down to this one, and you can see on the 10 period, here's the 10 buckets, and here is the red line. If it's below this brown line, it's a dark brown line, not a red line. It means that the bears are in control, and that corresponds with this down here. So what I'm looking for is a pullback, and then it's going to have to go up, turn positive like it did here, went through the line, and that's when the bulls get in control of this stock. If I move down to the next one, this is the 30-day. This is where most of the activity has been. You couldn't tell it without this indicator, but most of the activity based upon volume and price movement has been in this area. Same thing for the 90-day, or 3 months essentially. I use the 1010 for trigger, and this chart here, if everything is lined up to the upside, the bulls are in control. Now, I'll just leave this chart up. Let's go back to the warehouse. And rather than sticking with this group, I'm going to broaden it. I'll hit my alternate space bar. Then I re-engage the filter. And these are stocks as of last night, which showed this characteristic. Marathon Oil. I'll bring this up. You can see that it turned negative on the 10 and the 30 because these both went from green. You can see the bulls are clearly in control, and now there's profit taking. The group turned down, but it looks like it turned back up. But that's yesterday. I probably should regenerate the groups. In fact, why don't I do that quickly? I'll just go up here and do the industries at this level. Rebuild indexes in group. You can see how quickly it runs. I haven't updated this for a little while. That's all right. You'll get the concept. Normally I would run an update on prices before I rebuild the groups, but I'm just trying to show you, the concept here. So here's Marathon. I'm going to bring it up again and see how that group line turned down again. This was yesterday. This is today. After regenerating the groups, it shows what happened. So the group turned down. This stock is going down because it's part of the group. So with this view, I'm considering this an unconfirmed low pivot because I'm looking for stocks that have been strong, they're pulling back, and I'm looking for potential buying opportunities. These are all exploration and production as of last night. Now let's look at the intraday. You go to the intraday and you're going to find stocks that I'm using the same filter as the end of day. I'll prove that to you because when I click on this, there's 73 securities. When I go down to the intraday, there are 73 securities. The reason I want to do this is I want to know the stocks that have pulled back that are potentially heading higher today and going from negative to positive. We just look at Navigator Holdings. Well, maybe we didn't, but this is what I mean. This is negative to positive to a buy. I believe I did look at this one. So let's go to B2B Gold Corp. This is kind of an ugly chart up here. Here's the no supply. Here is the low pivot, and this is a confirmed buy if you use the high of the day here. Not a great looking chart. Let's move on. Okay, this went negative and it went positive, so it wasn't a good trade there. Here it's negative again. Now it's positive today. And what is this metalworking machinery? Probably not a bad, if you don't mind trading low volume stocks, low PE, low volume. Group has come down. It's kind of flat. Definitely worth putting in a watch list. It looks like I have an index in here. I may need to look at my filter, and as I go through these, I change things and then I put them in my next add-on update. Common stock equals yes. Let's see if it eliminated. That was a mistake on my part, but it'll be fixed in Saturday's update. This is why it's great to have me in control of all this. I fix stuff as I see it, and the users don't even know it, and they really don't need to know it. But I like to have it working correctly. Anyway, it's updating right now. Okay, let's take a look at an RV. This is a large RV manufacturer. I believe they're in Indiana. And you can see it went negative here as it sold off. The group's going down, still going down, but this is finding support. How do I know it's finding support? Well, look at the tails, and this one is at the upper end of its range right now. So worth putting in a watch list. Why take high-risk trades when you don't have to? Why chase? Those who chase, I mean, if you catch them right, they can go a long way, but they can also collapse. I'm always looking for low risk, and this is why I put this scan in here. I'm going to go back up one. This is bullish 10-period VPOC crossover today. The 30 and 90 are already up. I'm just going to show you an example here. Okay, we're getting a negative VPA flag here now. The market's selling off, but you can see it tried to go, but the volume points of control are still all positive. Volume is not that heavy today. Once again, worth putting in a watch list. See, here's your buy point on the VPOCs. This was already positive on the 90. Here's the 30 and the 10 turned positive at the same time as buyers stepped in. And I don't have the pivot points in this chart, but I'm sure that's a pivot point too. Tremendous flexibility in this program. I don't expect anybody to go through all of these scans. I expect you to pick out a few and use them. Let's go down. I'll look for one more stock here, and then I'll move on. Okay, where are we? I've only been looking at the dailies because this is basic. Same thing here. Tried to break out. Market's going down right now. So it's ran into resistance. Group turned down. But the thing is, went from negative to positive across this line on this effort to rise. Doesn't mean it's finished, but it's running into resistance now. Let's take a longer term. And let's look at the weekly here. It's kind of a loosey-goosey chart, but using those counts for higher highs and lower lows, it's still at a higher low at this point. This one has overhead resistance dating back to this period, though. This is why you need to look at multiple charts. Shouldn't just concentrate on the daily unless you're strictly a short-term day trader. Okay, I'm not going to cover any more of those. You get the idea. You can play with them if you have my files. And going forward, I'll be really getting into depth on these different scans. Let's see. I put some high volume scans in here. I made changes yesterday. This is end of day. You can see that compared to 5 days ago, Aspen Technology is 189% of that. 2 days ago, 104, and 1 day ago, 4.1. This is end of day. This is intraday using the same data. So these are stocks with volume increasing. If I go to intraday, it's the same. Once again, 289 securities, 289. Same filter. But I can see which ones are reacting to that increasing volume. And here we go. Here was the increasing volume. Let's just go to Well, you can use that VPOC chart or you can use any chart. I'm just going to go back to the plain volume point of control. And it really shows it here. So there was that increasing volume yesterday, and we're getting follow through today. I think these scans will be very helpful. I haven't put as much time in on them as I wanted to. Volume was increasing yesterday. Let's go back. I'll take this combo off. I'm sorry, I hit the wrong one. This disengages the combo, and I'm going to go back up to the, and what am I looking at here? SNX. I just wanted to come back to this, and you can see that the weekly change was, yesterday was 188%, compared to 5 days ago was 125%, 106 and 107 compared to the prior day. So we're comparing this bar to this bar with this column right here. And volume is coming in, but we really couldn't tell. It's so compressed here, and there was news on this. Some people, traders, probably knew something, so the volume was increasing, and you can see there were several VPA flags here. So anyway, and this is using strictly today's data. And the way I do that is I just use intraday filters. I'm still comparing volume from prior days, but I'm looking at intraday range, intraday volume today. And I don't have price in here because I'm just looking at volume, okay? But with this combo, it's going to bring the stocks to the top of the list that had increasing volume over those days, and it is being sorted by the effort versus the result. Let's just look at, while it's going to finish updating here. So I'll click on this one. Ugly chart, cheap stock, but it works. Here's the volume from yesterday, and it's following through today. Let's find a more expensive. Let's go down here to Nectar Therapeutics. Is this Nectar? Yes, it is on the daily. And you can see the volume was increasing. It's hard to tell just by looking at the chart, but you can see that these bars were getting bigger, and then there's a big volume spike today. This is what creates the problem. I don't like to cut off those spikes though, because it shows me the true volume, so I don't truncate the spikes in my charts. But these were increasing. Let's see if I can do this. It's hard to tell, but they were going up some, and that's what the filter was telling us. Visually, it's hard to see, but with the filter, we have an advantage, okay? Volume spike, end of day. Here's your volume spike yesterday. It followed through today, but this is the problem with chasing stocks like this. You can make some quick bucks, but when they sell off, you can get hurt too. Volume spike yesterday. This one opened lower. This is end of day yesterday using the same data. It's 27 securities. It shows us which of yesterday's are following through. Here's Beyond Meat. I noticed this started moving here. Didn't do anything with it. Once again, I should have. But you can see those who chased got caught this day, but it's been moving up since. So it went from the effort to rise, about 84, and it's $12, $13 ahead of that right now. Let's go back. I'm going to take the combo off again. Oh, I keep hitting the wrong one. Sorry. And let's go to the end of day. And here's Beyond Meat. Because I took the combo off, it didn't resort. And at the end of day, it was right here at this level. Now I want to look at the charts. Percent volume change for the week, or compared to a week, up 500% almost. 5 days, minus 670%. 2 days, 40.7, and volume change 1 day, which was here. You can see that this was down slightly from this. That's why it's negative, but you can see the demand coming in. It's very visible when these stocks start moving, and the demand overwhelms supply. Now it gapped up here. Unfortunately for those who bought here, they probably got shaken out. But the next day it gapped up, traded down a little bit, and it's had a very nice move. Okay, I'm going to re-engage the combo. You can see that effort results stayed with this because I didn't want to change the sort. When I re-engage it, it goes back to demand. And let's see. BYND was at number 14 last night. Traded at 98.35% of its daily range. Volume was heavy compared to the 50. I'm going to make a change on that right now. I'm going to pause. I use the 90 rather than the 50. They really don't vary much, but I'm trying to remain consistent. And this is what I do. When I see something needs to be fixed, I just stop and fix it. And then I upload it with the next day's add-on, and it's fixed automatically for the users. Okay. Now see, this one I had the correct thing in here, the 90-day. This is intraday using yesterday's data on the volume spike. And this is today's intraday data, which is actually finding volume spikes today. There's a volume spike. Here's a volume spike. Here's a volume spike. So there's plenty of good stuff in here. This is high volume scans looking for reversals. A sign of weakness is an upthrust bar. This is end of day. This is intraday. You can see which ones followed through to the downside. Let me bring one up. You can see here is the VPA flag. It's an upthrust, and this one came down. Now these went the other way, the green ones. Here's the upthrust bar. It held. There were not two lower lows here. Well, this is a cheap stock, but you wouldn't dump it on a one-day pullback, nor this one. So there are plenty of things for you to experiment with. Most actives, these are the end of day. I didn't know where to put them. I have most actives intraday, and if you just type most in here, you're going to get the end of day and the intraday. Here's one set to $5. for people that like to chase. I said chase, but I meant trade cheap stocks. Why do you want to trade these? Because more and more, lots of people trade these stocks because they make tremendous moves on a percentage basis. This went from 50 cents up to 82 in a matter of days. You can see it based. This is where the longer term charts really come in handy. You can see where accumulation is beginning. Here's one for 260. I don't like that chart at all. Let's look at the Nautilus group. Beautiful chart. Beautiful chart. You can look at the accumulation here on the monthly and the weekly. And then it broke. And this stock has a relative strength of 96. Poor group rank. But relative strength is what's really important. Effort to rise, effort to rise, effort to rise, effort to rise. And it went again today on increasing volume. Okay, I'm going to move on. There's plenty of, the volume scans are in there. Let's see, what else do I want to show you here? I'm going to show you a couple more and then in this, okay, under end of day scans, I'll X that out. Well, I put a 4-week high scan in here. Why did I do that? Because I thought people are always looking for trades that are coming out of a base. And I'm going to use tandem diabetes care. Let's look at the weekly chart. This is a very ugly and frustrating chart. Diabetes had a tremendous run last year, or not last year, year before, 2018, and it's been consolidating since. But what has happened, it passed this filter. Oh, darn it. I'll get it back if I can select the right one. 2 out of 3, not good, huh? I'm going to pause. Okay, I got it back. And here is 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So you can see that it broke past that high. It's coming out of a 4-week base. Now you go, well, you can look at the monthly and you can look at the weekly over the past several days. Look at this accumulation with these VPA flags. This is strength seen returning after a downtrend. This is an up bar closing near its high, confirms this strength. This is no supply, a sign of strength. This is strength seen returning. And most of these are closing towards the upper part of their range. And this is a confirmation of that strength. Then there was an effort to rise and it followed through today. So you get a different perspective by looking at all 3 charts. And then you zoom in. This is this is a low confidence buy because of this garbage over here. But if you believe the VPA and you look at the volume and look at the closes, it was a pretty safe trade with a stop down in this area, or buy some options on it, a spread or whatever. But it turned out to be a really good trade from here to here. Just out of curiosity, I'll do an alternate A, bring up the annotation tools, click on these 2, and let's just, from this first accumulation day, I didn't do a good job of drawing that, from the close, well, let's do the open the next day, approximately to here, over, it's up 7, change is 12.2% over 6 periods. That's a great return. And with options, you could have done very well. But these are just examples I'm giving you. This is a 4-week high. It's another thing you should look at. And here's a 4-week high intraday. So you can see what is moving during the day. Here's La Jolla activity. Let's see if we can find, here's tandem right here, number 8. Let's look at YY. And this would be 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It broke out of this base based upon my filter, and it would have been showing up earlier this week. Same thing, effort to rise, this yellow, strength seen returning after a downtrend, effort to rise and starting to move up. Just out of curiosity, I go down one level. Look at the group. Group's moving up. That's this price chart right here. And this one right here has the 18-day exponential moving average in it. Easy to move around, easy to analyze if you take the time to do it. Okay, I'm going to wind this down here shortly. I've given you 2 long videos, and I've only scratched the surface of this program. Okay, now I'm going to go down here to folder number 10. This is fan crossovers with a 10-day window. A friend said he noticed that oftentimes when there is a fan crossover that there will be an effort to rise shortly thereafter. And I'm sorted on raw combo using my demand combo. These stocks are positive as far as the fan goes because it's above the 18, since the 18 crossed the 50. Well, let me open these up so you can see what I'm doing here. 18 crossed the 50 crossed the 100, and the 100 crossed the 200, which means the fan is in place. And let's just take the first one, Acme. Now, nice strong chart on the monthly and the weekly after a pullback, expansion, contraction, impulse, reaction, whatever you want to call it. Look at these good VPA flags. Beautiful. And then what happened here? The fan went into place, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here and go down to my fan chart. And this has the moving averages in it, or the fans in it, which are moving averages is what I'm trying to say. So I initially put this together, and the trend was down here on most of these, and then the fan turned positive. My view of the fan is it shows institutional interest because it takes effort to drive these stocks up. And you can see the relationship of the moving averages here. EMA fan trend is up. So I decided to put another chart in. And this is a VFB chart. And if you go down to the warehouse, whatever filter is in place, you click on it, and it transfers this filter from the warehouse to the chart. And this shows exactly where the fan crossed over. It would be this right here when the 18 pulled up through the 50 and both were above the 100 and the 200. This is where the fan begins. So you don't get it at the bottom here, but buying on the fan here with, let's see, it hasn't had a recent, this circle means the bulls and bears are kind of in agreement, but the bulls had a little more advantage here by the close because it was a white candle down a little bit, but there's some profit taking. But it followed through the next 3 days, actually. Now, let's go look at this one, which had an effort to rise yesterday. And here it is right here. But there was also, this is my friend was talking about, Here's the crossover, and there was an effort to rise there, and this is a good trade. So what I'm looking for, and this was an effort to rise 2 days ago on this one. Let's look at FLIR. It's crossed over. Here's the effort to rise a few days ago. It hasn't done much yet. Market closed down a little bit today. All of these were 2 days ago on the efforts to rise. Let's look at one more. Okay, now this one, here's your effort to rise, but here was a test, confirmation of that test. There's the effort to rise. Is the fan up? Yes. Doesn't look like much, but it's up because these moving averages are all in place. And as I zoom out, you can see how the fan appears, and I'll just make this full screen. These are all instances where the fan was in place and then it fell out of favor. Now I'm going to show you something dramatic by going to AAPL, which is in charge of this market. Now I'll click on warehouse, and Apple is right here. So I have to go from the warehouse to the filter. Okay. Apple is not, I'm sorry about that. Hang on. Apple is not in that 10-day window. So what I did to take care of situations like this, fan up institutional footprint stocks. Now I'm going to click on this filter, and let's see if Apple's in here. AAPL, you bring that window up by hitting your space bar. Now Apple is in here. Fan crossover up institutional footprint stocks. There's 1,501 stocks that are in a fan uptrend. And now when I click through from this, you can see where Apple was in a, and I'm only going back, let's see, edit indicator, charting filter. It's 2 years. Let me put it on all. Takes longer to calculate, but now I can bring Apple up, and it shows me all of the times that Apple was in a fan uptrend. And this is institutional interest when the fan expands, takes off. What you'll find on the fan when a stock is very strong, you'll often see it trading down to the 50 or to the 18 and bouncing off of that. What it's doing, some people say it's surfing the moving average, whatever it, but a very strong stock will stay well above the 18 period exponential moving average. Beautiful fan. Apple at some point, it's got to correct, but all the institutional money wants to be in Apple now. Why? Because it's the leading stock. Let's do one more. Oh, let's try VeriSign. That's an old tech stock. And here, strong fan, fell out of favor. You can see where it crossed down. And then it's had this long basing period. And now with money looking to go anywhere, the fan has started up. So institutions are becoming more interested in this stock. Institutionally held, it's already heavy at 90.9%. Strong institutional footprints, but now rather than avoiding the stock, they're coming back into it. Look at all these VPA accumulation flags. Anyway, I keep repeating myself on that. That's all I have time for in this video. I hope you find it useful and not a waste of your time. I'm just trying to show you the flexibility of my methodology and what HGSI can do. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, you can send me an email at ron@highgrowthstock, and better yet, you can join the Insider Club. If you want to test it, it's $25 a month or $200 a year. Well worth the money because I'm always working on stuff and processes to make it easier for you to make money. Thank you for listening.